Alright. Let's see. What the fuck? Yo, is this game gonna let me fucking do something? Yo, what the fuck, yo? What the fuck? Oh, fuck this game, dude. Fuck this game. Yeah. Finally. Made it to the end of this goddamn level. Yeah. Jump over these crates right here. Go up this ladder. Oh man, this game is fucking torture. Shit is fucking trash. Yeah, go through the vent. What the fuck, dude? Are you serious? Oh, kiss my ass. Back in the early 2000s, the X-Men movies revolutionized the superhero genre in film, giving critics and general audiences a grounded live-action depiction of the famous superhero team complete with themes that represent real issues, including racism, diversity, communism, genocide, anti-Semitism, religion, and then some. The movies have successfully carried these themes over from the comic books, touching on more of them as the series lingered onward. In particular, X2, X-Men United, the 2003 sequel to X-Men, managed to carry over many of these themes from the first film while successfully weaving a plot containing a large ensemble cast with multiple storylines flawlessly. Of course, as the case was with the 2000s decade, whenever there was a popular blockbuster film, especially one that involved superpowered characters, a video game wasn't too far behind. As a further marketing tactic for the release of X2 X-Men United, the video game X2 Wolverine's Revenge was released to market on all major platforms under different developers, with the console version being held by Warthog Games, and the handheld version having been developed by Vicarious Visions. The game wasn't originally designed to be marketing material for the X-Men 2 film, but was later given a name that matches the film with a box art that featured one of the movie's promotional posters with Hugh Jackman's face on the cover, despite the fact that Wolverine in the game, as well as other X-Men characters, were designed after their comic book counterparts. Hugh Jackman himself didn't actually have anything to do with this game, as Star Wars and Batman the Animated Series veteran actor Mark Hamill voiced Wolverine in the game. Therefore, the game was clearly a cheap ploy used to market the movie, which is obvious, but how was the actual quality of the game itself? Well, to put it lightly, X2 Wolverine's Revenge is a piece of dog shit. The game is horribly designed and suffers from a laundry list of issues that come purely from bad decisions made on the behalf of the development team at Warthog Games. Some of these decisions includes a poorly designed combat system that focuses on a 1 versus 1 affair with the AI constantly throughout the runtime, despite the fact that the player is often tasked with fighting multiple opponents at once. Even with the takedowns they implemented, the combat system is still awkwardly stiff and clunky to control. Then you have forced stealth sections in the game where if you get caught, you receive a game over and often will be forced to restart the entire level, including the unskippable in-game cutscenes from the beginning. You also have a god-awful healing system that's extremely slow but is absolutely mandatory to getting through some of the game's toughest levels. You have AI escort sections where you must protect an NPC through waves of enemies, and if they die or if you accidentally kill them yourself, you also receive a game over and will be forced to restart the entire level from the beginning. The list of poor decisions and downright bad game design goes on and on and on, but easily the biggest problem with X2 Wolverine's Revenge is that the game is simply too fucking hard. It's ridiculously hard, similar to 2003's Hulk, another shitty movie tie-in that had no quality control. This is a game that was marketed to children, and when I played this game years ago, I made it past the first few levels and was unable to make it any further without using a cheat that gave me invincibility, removing all challenge and fun from the game. Little did younger me realize that this game isn't fun whether you're cheating to get through it, or you instead suffer through it legit, as I just did recently before the recording of this video.
Give up, Logan. This is senseless. You, of all my foes, I respect the most, for you have integrity. And you have honor.
I ain't forgetting that you ripped the adamantium out of me once. Nothing respectful about that.
And now we duel again. Even with my powers tempered by this cursed device, I am far more powerful than you.
I didn't come this far to take a rain check, Magneto. I came to rumble.
On what fucking planet does it make any sense to match Wolverine against Magneto? Magneto is one of the strongest X-Men characters. So is Wolverine, but see, there's a conflict of interest when it comes to their power set. Wolverine's body is made out of adamantium, which is like this metal or metallic alloy. And that's the same material that his claws are made out of. Magneto directly controls metal. So I don't understand why they would put a boss fight in the game where it's just Wolverine by himself versus Magneto. Magneto, it usually takes an entire team of the X-Men characters to fight him because he's literally that powerful. So again, why would you put a boss fight in this game where Wolverine has to fight Magneto? And not only did they do that, but they actually put something in the game where Magneto will go to a spot within the level and a little bar or whatever will deplete because he has like a collar around his neck or whatever in the storyline. And if he takes the collar off, you automatically die and get a game over and have to restart the boss fight from the beginning. What the fuck were they thinking? Oh man, this shit is fucking terrible. Keep running in this shit. Magneto can like pick you up and just fucking do whatever he wants. The boss will just shift around at a fucking moment's notice. And they only gave Wolverine one method, one way to attack Magneto in the first place. You have to like go up on the platform and perform some kind of jumping attack that's kind of tricky to perform based on how they actually mapped it to the buttons on the controller. It's unbelievably ridiculous. I really want to know who was on the development team for this game because it's literally that mediocre. Like what the fuck were they thinking, dude? I just fell in a fucking pool of lava and I'm losing health like crazy. That shouldn't even be possible. It shouldn't even be possible at all. And going back to the matchup between Wolverine and Magneto, right? Even the movies got this matchup between Wolverine and Magneto right. What happens in the movies when Wolverine encounters Magneto and Magneto becomes hostile? Let's take a look.
I know the smell of your adamantium from a mile away. She's here because she wants to be.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
I know full well. I saw what she did to Charles.
I'm not leaving here without her.
Yes, you are.
So much for being a survivor.
So again, nothing about this matchup makes any kind of coherent sense. So if they got it right in the movies, how come they can't get it right in the games? I could pick apart this game very easily as there is something wrong, something that was terribly designed in every level of this fucking shit-infested bullshit mess of a game that I could not believe the developers were stupid enough to consider how this game could possibly be marketed towards children. Even gaming journalists spoke out against this game, proclaiming how unbelievably unbalanced the difficulty is. And because this game severely lacks checkpoints that are consistent, one mistake which is often on the design of the game, and the level design, and the behavior of the enemy AI rather than on you, the player, you will receive a game over again and again to the point of insanity. It's as if the game has you in a chokehold asking you if you want to tap out. And even now, well into my late 20s, I almost said, fuck it, I quit. This section right here is just some next level fuckery. Because it is not made clear what you're actually supposed to do to get past this fucking Wendigo creature. And I even went into the menu to the control section to try and see, if there was some kind of maneuver that I was supposed to pull off. And eventually I did figure it out. And this isn't actually in the pause menu, but you're supposed to pick up an enemy and toss it at the Wendigo creature. And you have to do this multiple times. But the game doesn't tell you that's what you're supposed to do. So it's an issue stemming from a clear lack of direction and basic instruction. Again, what were they thinking? They got a section, actually multiple sections in this game, where Wolverine, for whatever reason, infiltrates some kind of underground military facility, and he has to take control of a mech. Why in the hell would you design an X-Men game based on the Wolverine character and then have the character take control of a mech? How fucking random is that? And those are some of the worst sections in the game. Like, legit. Because if the mech dies, then you can't use another one. And it's very easy to get a game over in those sections without it. Because they just flood the screen with enemies and other overpowered mechs that Wolverine can't fight on his own. I just don't understand. Wolverine's Revenge, if you ignore the difficulty, is a rather short game that can be completed within just a handful of hours. And because of this, I believe that the intense difficulty and lack of checkpoints was intentional to window dress how long the game actually is. As a superhero game, this comes from a time where game developers focused on how tough a game is instead of focusing on how fun a game is. As a superpowered character like Wolverine, you shouldn't feel weak. You should feel empowered and virtually unstoppable. This is something that later superhero games that we know today with the Batman Arkham series and the modern Spider-Man games do flawlessly. But with games like this, you not only feel weak, you feel insultingly weak to the point where it feels like you're controlling a different character entirely. And that within of itself is unforgivable.
The adamantium process invented by my father. You who stole my legacy.
You want the adamantium back that bad? Come and get it.
So, the boss fight with Lady Deathstrike is actually not that bad through the majority of it. It comes in 4 separate stages. The first 2 stages are actually really easy. The third stage is where it becomes a problem. And that's mainly due to the fact that you have to jump over these electrical waves. But the game's jumping mechanic is so stiff that it's virtually impossible to avoid all of those attacks, which results in multiple game overs, unless you get lucky. It also doesn't help the fact that that particular stage of the boss has a fixed camera that you really can't control, or shift to a more appropriate view. But as a final boss in this game, Lady Deathstrike is actually rather the best one that's in the game, which is ironic given how much you actually have to suffer through in order to get to her in the first place. Combine all the usual issues that this game presents with a serious lack of instruction to explain to the player what they're actually supposed to do, And you have a very frustrating experience that has no replayability if you're even fortunate enough to see it through. X2 Wolverine's Revenge is just another in a long line of mediocre movie tie-ins that should have never saw the light of day, especially considering that while the game has a decent story applied to it, ultimately it has zero to do with the movie that it's tied to. Unlike the Hulk, we've gotten a few games starring the Wolverine character that were actually good, and that's not counting Insomniac's upcoming take on the character, so X2 Wolverine's Revenge won't be remembered for much, and that's for the best.
Omega Red.